recording has started, and I want to start, of course, with saying thank you very much to Jean-Christophe and the WAPP organization. This session is primarily for you guys, and the intent here is that we're going to be talking a little bit about Entnest as a digital collaboration tool for WAPP and beyond. And we also have Christian with us in here, who is a current big and heavy user of Entnest, and I think there's some interesting learnings and so on from his side also. But we have slightly less than an hour now, so I suggest that we jump straight in without further ado. So I will be sharing my screen here, and I think, let me see here now if I can make this happen here. So here we go. Now I think you see my screen also, right?
Yeah.
That is perfect. All right. Yes, you see it also?
Yeah, go ahead, Johan.
Yeah,
Okay, that's excellent. You're on a mobile phone there in Uzbekistan, I guess, but maybe a little bit,
yeah.
maybe a little bit.
I'm just transferring to laptop.
Perfect. Excellent. That's even better. And hopefully you'll see it on the bigger screen there then. So yeah, the starting point I think really is that we are all seeing a lot of issues happening in the world today. Basically, the world is on fire. There's no trust. We all are running in the rat race, and I think we're quite overwhelmed by a lot of different things here. There's a lot of anonymity. We're all spammed, scammed, hacked, and so on. I think it's also an interesting aspect that the big tech giants of, in particular, the US and China are very, very powerful, and we're getting a lot of things for free. But the tech giants of today are making a lot of benefits on our behalf, so to say. There, so it's an interesting aspect there also. At the same time, there's a lot of challenges for the entrepreneurship ecosystem. Coming up with any type of innovation today is a big challenge to reach out, because we're all so busy and so on here. So I really like this image, and of course, it really feels like there's very little accountability in the world today. So these were all issues, and I think you agree with me that these are pretty big issues out there, and we can probably name a couple more with COVID and wartime and so on. But to stay with a few, these were the reasons for why we felt that we need to have something different, something that feels like we recognize it, but that is still dealing with especially the digital collaboration and so on in a slightly different way, more ethics, values, and principle based. So that's basically what we took as the vision and mission for the creation of Entnest. And if we look at the ecosystem today, and we're talking ecosystem of entrepreneurship, which I think is very much fitting also with what WAPP is doing. It's about creating opportunities for more ongoing and consistent interaction. But if we really look at what is happening today, oops, I'm having yeah, that's perfect. Thank you for that. Yeah, so right now there are millions of fragmented networks, and everybody is setting up their own platform and feel like they are creating a competitive edge to some extent through that. But in reality, it rather makes all of us overwhelmed and struggling with all the different things that we're needing to be. I'm probably at 20 or 30 or even 40 different platforms, right? And that's very, very painful. We have the anonymity and the fake profiles. We have many tools with very few functions. Um, and they can be good for one thing, but it's part of why we need so many different tools then. So it also creates a lot of separation and duplication. And as we've said, it's really overwhelming for the population. So what we suggest then is rather imagine a different tomorrow, a tomorrow where one network is created, but connected networks is inside this network, and we is based then in the best case scenario, it's based on trust. And Entnest, as you will see, is based on trust, is based on invitation only. So it really makes it very relevant for all the different members that are inside. The fact that we have then combined a lot of different tools in one toolbox is, of course, a very good step towards efficiency and productivity. And it also creates great opportunities for better collaboration and synergies between real and trusted people. So, productive entrepreneurship support in one place. And yeah, I'd be happy to go over to Jean-Christophe or Christian if you have some comments
Yeah,
so far. I want it to be a little bit interactive here also.
yeah. So I can
Certainly.
tell you a little bit about. So my name is Christian Kinkombe. I'm the co-founding managing partner of WAPPP Group, which is an advisory boutique based here in Geneva, Switzerland. I'm also the partner of Impactpreneur Africa Limited, which is likewise an advisory boutique operating out of Lusaka and Zambia. So if, for example, if you take the case of Zambia, you have the so-called market enablers, or as you call the economic support organizations, which basically represent actors that facilitate the impact ecosystem without necessarily providing capital. And you have a number of ecosystem players, but most of them are not specialized. You have some of them in Zambia, for example, who are focusing on women-led enterprises, or you have others who are focusing on tech ventures. So basically, the ecosystem enabling system consists of advisors, legal practitioners, auditors, and entrepreneurs and support organizations. But few of these incubators and innovation hubs have been active in terms of ensuring that the businesses are investment ready, and also pooling in terms of pooling investors and other experts together. Another example of this fragmentation is if you take the case of the so-called impact investing platforms. The so-called TBLI by Robin Rubenstein, he did a survey or collected information about these impact investing platforms, and he enumerated more than 86 different investment platforms. But if you go back to the case of Zambia, I could see my former colleague Peter Tinto is with us today, so he can correct me if I'm wrong. So if if you are, for example, an economic support organization, and you would want to register on the National Advisory Board for Impact Investing website as a economic support organization, that will basically just give you access to a mailing list. It will not go further than that, and I'm sure that this might also be the same in other NABs. In Zambia, you have currently between 5 and 10 market enablers or economic support systems. Um, and while they are in competition with one another, it's also important, since it's a nascent or still an emerging system, that they collaborate. So one way through which they collaborate is by joining the National Advisory Board for Impact Investing. Then if you go from the national level to the global level, as NABII is part of the Global Steering Group for Impact Investing, they are present in currently more than 35 countries, and both in the global north and the global south. And then I'm trying to imagine then what it would be like if those 35 and soon to be more than 40 countries were connected through the Entnest platform. That will not only allow them to bring together leaders from finance, business, and philanthropy, as they are doing at the national level, but they will also allow them to connect those different actors across the ecosystem, across national boundaries, which
Exactly.
will then enable them to, in a much better way, address some of the very pressing social and environmental challenges that Johan he raised in his introduction.
Yeah, we'll get a little bit further into the details and so on there, but really, you're confirming basically that there's a lot of fragmentation and lots of people interested in similar elements, but rather fragmentation and duplication is happening right now, and we need to get to the synergy situation with creating a digital base, which we then suggest, of course, is Entnest, and that you are utilizing in a very good way, Christian. There, Jean-Christophe, from your perspective and looking at it from a WAP, with your WAP hat on.
Thank you, Johan.
Yeah.
So, in a nutshell, I think PPP professionals from around the globe need to be open for technological change, evolution. And I see Entnest as a great opportunity to cover this entrepreneurial side, because you can connect with different organizations of the same specialty, entrepreneurship. And as this is the reality for many people who are in construction or in large infrastructure projects, or passionate about long-term complex infrastructure projects, I think it's a good opportunity to exchange in that discipline, because it brings a lot of functionalities, the repository side, the ability also to exchange with like-minded people, all in a trusted space. So I believe it's an interesting piece of technology now with enhanced video features, so that also adds value to it, because we can exchange amongst each other here, even record the session here. And so for webinars in the future, that may be a really good option too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Thank you for that input further there, Jean-Christophe. And I'll continue sharing my screen a little bit here. And I think we're now back to my screen. So I've gone through that. So Entnest then, what is Entnest? Well, Entnest first, it's a constructed word. Ent is short for entrepreneurs, and Nest is like the home of entrepreneurs. And it's really about creating a new digital infrastructure for that is based on trust, and sharing the wealth and opportunity in a bigger way than what is happening today. It's about the entrepreneurship ecosystem. I do think it's much broader than only entrepreneurs and established and aspiring entrepreneurs and some incubators, accelerators, co-working spaces, and so on. I definitely think that WAPP has can play an integral part and be very much positive driving in the utilization of Entnest. So how do we work in here? We focus on quality rather than quantity. It's about not just connecting, but actually effective human interaction. And I think there's a big risk that we're sort of losing the human interactivity element, where everybody sends friend requests to everybody else and wanting to have tens of thousands and not really doing any real interaction on the human level. So it really is a professional, invite-only, all-in-one productivity platform. And we are also giving back at least 51% of the profit here. So we think we are like a fresh mountain lake on top of the polluted oceans that we see out there. We could also use the analogy of the Swiss Army knife, of course, with having a lot of different tools in the same place. So we started in Geneva in 2015. I'm not going to read through this in great detail. I will share the presentation deck so that you can see this also. But again, it comes back to the invite only, the all-in-one toolbox, the network of networks. We're about 8,000 people and organizations inside today. Christian, who you've seen in here, has provided a very nice testimonial also, which what I think reflects on really what it is that we want to do. Christian, I'm not sure if you want to jump in a little bit here also, or if you want me to continue until we get further down the line with more meat from your side onto my bones?
Well, just wanted to highlight, for example, both Johan and I, we attended the so-called Africa Lab annual gathering, which took place a few weeks ago and was actually hosted in Zambia and Lusaka. And one of the things that I noticed from their platform was that, I mean, while you had a number of really great knowledge sharing events, the participants, they were offered options to use Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. Um, but during the event, you are not really probably connected with the other participants through the platform. And if you wanted to connect with the participant outside of the event, then you would have to connect with them through some of these other tech platforms like Facebook or LinkedIn. So that was one of the things, one of the drawbacks of attending these kind of events. I think it's the same thing. Also, a couple of weeks ago, I attended the so-called Africa Early Stage Investor Summit, which was hosted by the Hupulo platform. I think a fantastic event, really great knowledge sharing by early stage investors. They had a reception, agenda, meeting rooms, network lounges, virtual booths, and so on. But again, the problem was that if you wanted to continue the conversation with the participants after the event, basically you had to share your email with the other participant, and then they will have to reach out to you afterwards, as actually happened this morning when I received an email from the UNDP that I wanted to talk to about some of the services that we are providing on the African continent. So I think Entnest have these features that the other platforms do not have, and that's one of the main reasons why we're using Entnest.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you very much for that addition there also. So I'm going back to sharing my screen again here, and I think you are now seeing it again then. So yeah. So yeah, the need for becoming a little bit more effective and preferably also positive and ethical in the way that we're dealing with data and ourselves among ourselves on many of these platforms. It's really a challenging side. So Entnest, we have elements from LinkedIn, from WhatsApp, from Zoom, from Microsoft Teams, from Slack, from emails, Meetup, Eventbrite, Upwork, Mighty Networks. I don't even remember what this one is right now. And even you can say Airbnb. We have different features from all of them, but compressed into one platform. And that is really making it a very good place for higher productivity and efficiency, and basing it on trust. So, as said already, the core values of Entnest really are the trust, the productivity, the synergies, the sharing attitude, and you can really do a lot of different things in one place. So chatting, community building, groups, events, video conferencing, knowledge, and a lot of other things. The things that we think are core elements to any community, and instead of the community setting up their own platform, this is the opportunity of utilizing the Entnest platform, not just to connect their own network, but to also be connected to other networks inside of Entnest. So we're then wanting, of course, to connect not just sort of the buyers and the sellers, but really the whole ecosystem around.
Maybe Johan, before you just continue that slide, just wanted to share. So so basically through my company's WAPPP group and EPA, as well as my previous board membership of the National Advisory Board in Zambia and the Swiss Impact Investing Association, we have basically been using 11 out of these 12 functions that you've just highlighted, with the exception of the space booking. But that could easily be addressed because WAPPP Group for more than 5 years was domiciled within the Impact Hub Geneva, and Impactpreneur Africa Limited is actually domiciled within the Impact Hub Lusaka. So the space booking feature could also easily be used once the Impact Hubs also decide to use the Entnest platform. So that's one thing I want to mention. Then I can maybe say a few things about what we have been doing using the platform. So One of the things that we have been doing is we have been organizing a so-called on a monthly basis, a monthly impact investor circle webinar series in countries such as Zambia, Tanzania, Ghana, where we basically brought together these economic support organizations, and I'll say a little bit more about that, also in Nigeria. So basically how this webinar series was structured, that so we spent 1 quarter in each country, and the first month we basically is devoted to bringing all of the members of the 5 pillars of the impact investing ecosystem, which are the supply of impact capital, which basically represent actors that provide funding either directly or indirectly to impact businesses. The demanders for impact capital, which represent actors that provide impact solutions and have financing needs to carry out those solutions. The intermediaries, which facilitate the exchange of impact capital between supply and demand. And then, of course, the market enablers, which represent actors that facilitate the impact ecosystem. And then also policy and regulation, which represent actors that catalyze the ecosystem through policy-making tools. And in the second month, we then focus entirely on the market enablers, or the so-called economic support organizations. And they basically present themselves as incubators or accelerators. What does their program look like? And how do they produce a continuous flow of investment-ready enterprises, and how they work with impact investors in terms of helping them to source investment-ready enterprises and their due diligence. And then the last month is then devoted to where we then ask the economic support organizations to select 1 or 2 investment-ready companies that have gone through their capacity building programs, and when we give those enterprises 3 minutes to pitch their solutions to investors that we have in our investor database. And then that cycle is then repeated for the next country that we've done. And then after we have done those events, what we have been doing on the Entnest platform is that we have created groups. So currently we have 5 groups on the Entnest platform. We have, for example, a group for Zambia that covers Zambia and the Southern Africa development communities, which consist of 15 countries. Southern Africa, we also have a group for Tanzania, which is located in the East Africa community. And we are actually going to be focusing on Kenya starting in January. And similarly, we have done that, created groups in Ghana as well as in Nigeria. So those companies that has graduated from the economic support organizations are then invited to join those groups, whereby they can benefit from a number of features that I can tell you a little bit more about as you move along, Johan.
Excellent. That's really good to know. Thank you for sharing that. While you were speaking there, I was also showing a little bit of an overview that has been recorded into this, so that you could see what the 4IP profile looks like and so on there. So that's excellent. Thank you for that. So we're wanting then to really make the connections across the different parts of the ecosystem, and that will make it very convenient for all the different players to really connect with trusted people and organizations around in a more efficient way. I think you're seeing my screen again now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is your slide, Christian, which I think shows the situation in Geneva, with a lot of organizations handling aspects of the same thing, which is sustainable investments, right?
Yeah. Well, basically, what I can say again, Johan, coming to that, again, also to highlight some of these different features that you just showed on the other slide in terms of how to maximize the values. So as I said, one of the features that we have been using a lot is, of course, the Entnest video conference function, which we are using, as I said, for our monthly Impact Investor Circle webinars, but also the Swiss that we are doing, organizing journey with the Swiss Impact Investing Association. And the Swiss Impact Investing Association, we have a chapter in the French-speaking part of Switzerland called Swiss Romandy, where we organize monthly or quarterly webinars or hybrid series. After the end of the COVID pandemic, we are also organizing these events in the Impact Hub Geneva. And so this is one very nice feature of the Entnest, in the sense that you can see who is attending your event. So those who sign up through the Entnest platform, you can basically see what is their profile, what do they offer, and what do they need. And that is, of course, a very nice knowledge to have if you want to engage with other members of the platform. We have also been organizing in terms of the Entnest knowledge sharing function. We have been organizing our first ever impact investing course, which just ended last week in collaboration with the Open University of Tanzania, and also the lead of the Mauritius National Advisory Board task force, and also with the support, I can see she's with us now, the lead of the Tanzania task force for the National Advisory Board for Impact Investing. And then again, we have created a group whereby the graduates, which consists of professionals both in the public private sector, they can join the Tanzania group. And so if you go to those groups, these groups are basically closed communities, which means that you can only access those groups once you have received an invitation. Basically that the groups allows you to share files, so which is also one of the Entnest functions, the file sharing function. It allows you to add knowledge. Of course, it allows you to create events. It also allows you to comment on those events both before, during, and after the events has occurred. And then it even allows you to create polls in real time, which is, is becoming a more and more popular feature when you go to big conferences, that the organizers of this session would actually like to know what the room thinks about the things being discussed. You can do that on the Entnest platform, which I think is a really nice feature as well. And then you can also export the participants who are on there. So you can basically export that into a PDF file. And that gives you as the stakeholders and the other participants an opportunity to see, as I mentioned, what the members are offering, their needs, and you can get that both in a detailed format or in a minimal format. And then also it's a kind of it corresponds to what Entnest called the marketplace feature as well, because here people are selling and they're offering services, and if they're companies or if they're investors, what kind of sectors or geographies that the venture capital funds are looking at. And then if you click on some of the members of the group, in addition to seeing what the members are offering, you can see also the activities on the platform, and you can also easily start a conversation with the other members. After, of course, you have requested a meeting, which you also can do on the platform. So in other words, you don't need to exit Entnest to join Zoom or MS Teams to communicate with the other members of the platforms and the other communities. This is a very important part of the Entnest chat function that I also appreciate a lot. And then even Entnest, they have a CRM function, so you can click on the people that you're engaging with in terms of stating whether they have a great profile, or whether they are current client or potential client, or if they are investors, or if they belong to the movers and the shakers, or if you want to follow them. So, and then you can also provide private comments, which is also a nice function that you have on the Entnest platform. Back to you, Johan.
Yeah, wow, Christian, you have been busy on Entnest. I can tell. You know it better than I do, I think, now, after having heard that. So that's quite amazing. Thank you for that. Very broad and detailed sharing of your experience and so on there, and that really goes both to show that it's an interesting one, both on the very detailed level of what you can do as a member. And I'm sharing my screen again, coming back to your slide of the sustainable investment part in Geneva there, Christian, where you have the 4IP group down there at the middle. So you are doing great with your specific things, but also for all of us, imagine instead of all these 248 or how many members there are in here, instead of them having their own email lists and different platforms and so on, what if we could make the connections between these different organizations in a much more efficient way than what is happening today? I think we can unleash so much extra value and so on to the whole community around us, frankly. And yeah, it's just a matter of course, it's yet another platform, but I do think it's a needed opportunity to get to somewhat of an important aspect and getting away from the current what we're doing, where we're all a little bit yeah, challenged, I would say, with being the product of the bigger platforms and so on there. So very good. Thank you for that, Christian.
Maybe, Johan, before you go to my learning,
Yeah,
since we both have Peter from the NAB in Zambia and we have Nema from the NAB in Tanzania, maybe
yeah,
they can speak to that slide you just showed there, because they have a similar slides in their countries, and how they think that from what they know about Entnest, how they can use that for their purposes.
yeah. Perfect. Peter, your microphone is on, so maybe if you want to say a few words.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Greetings from Lusaka, Zambia. I hope everyone is okay. We just entered our rain season here, so it's chilly and all that. Yeah. Well, I think from obviously from the glance of it, and from your presentation, and from Christian's presentation, I think this is a platform that can obviously get to provide a lot of value. Not just for market enablers like the National Advisory Board, but of course even for like the ultimate beneficiaries of whatsoever interventions that we're trying to undertake, like the businesses, the demand pillar that Christian had talked about. Because I feel that if somehow we're able to like influence ecosystem players to, of course, on board and join Entnest, I think this is a place where like they can where the businesses themselves, for instance, should they need any, let's say, business development services, we have a number of associations together with entrepreneurship support organizations that are offering business development. I think this is one place I believe that they can be able to easily connect with such kind of players in the market and get the services that they would need, not only to grow, but of course, not only to grow their profits, but of course, grow and scale their businesses. So yeah, I think it's a good platform.
Excellent, excellent, Peter. Thank you for that. And yeah, I look forward to doing even more together with you and the different organizations that you are related to there. It's great to see Nema is also in here. I don't know. I hope you can hear us. Your microphone, yes, it's now on also. So I guess we can hear you too now.
Sure, John. Hi, everyone.
Hello. So yeah, do you want
I
to?
missed
Yes, sorry.
some part of the presentation, but I agree with what Peter said. And Tanzania being still at a very learning stage on this Entnest, we haven't utilized it the way I'm thinking, because there's so much potential in it. And we had several discussions with Johan also on how we can be able to engage, especially the beneficiary side, as Peter was saying. So I'm looking forward to learn more on it and how we can be able to use it. As even as the way you were continuing to present and to explain, Christian, I was just thinking on how I can be able to make more engagement and connect others, so that we can make active engagement through Entnest. So I'm learning and I'm following up very careful. That's why I'm I'm even here now, and I believe you guys are ready to coach me through, so that when I introduce it to others, so that we can be able to benefit from it. But otherwise, thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah, excellent, Nema. Thank you very much for those kind words also, and I'm very much looking forward to having the next coming discussions and so on. So great. Okay, so I am going back over to sharing my screen again. I think we are a good way through here. And I think you see my screen again now. You know the situation here in the Geneva part with those 248 organizations basically having individual places then, but Christian making a good dent in this and um, uh, suggesting that we can get a little bit closer and have more benefits for all. So Christian, you put together also a nice learning slide here. So yeah, take it away.
Just basically to summarize, so what have we, I mean, what have we been using? So we have been using the Entnest platform basically to reach out to startups and scale-ups by providing our ESG toolkit advisory services, as well as acting as mentors for these companies. And I've also been acting as a mentor for aspiring entrepreneurs through, for example, the Imperial College Global Challenge, which is in terms of reaching out to some of the educational institutions that we also want to be using the platform. I've been giving lectures to students at universities both in Tanzania and in Zambia using the platform. I've tried to set up both a private equity infrastructure fund as well as a venture capital fund. And I've used the platform for sourcing of prospective portfolio companies. I have signed strategic partnership agreements with economic support organizations such as accelerators mainly, but also incubators like in Kinshasa. So I expect to see a lot of Congolese early stage companies on the platform in the coming weeks. And then in a number of other African countries, as I mentioned in my introduction. We have been using the platform to share knowledge, such as about our activities that we are doing, as well as articles that I've been writing. And also, as a service provider, we have been using the platform to reach out to potential and existing clients on the platform to offer them our ESG Toolkit services and other services, such as the provision of the UN SDG standards, as well as investment matchmaking activities. So I think we have been using most of the different features that you raised in your circle, Johan, and I can assure everyone else who are hesitating that it's been working very well. So I warmly recommend Entnest as if you are a service provider, or even if you are a venture capital fund looking for investment opportunities, given the great number of economic support organizations as well as enterprises that you'll find on the Entnest platform.
Excellent, excellent. So yeah, up on the screen you had a couple of bullet points that you had put in, and I think you've touched on all of that during this whole 45 minutes that we've had now. So I think people understand those. And so from my side, looking at it from a bigger picture, I think really the world is on fire, as we've said, and I think there is an opportunity of progressing a little bit more from basically the divide and conquer that I feel and I think we all see is happening out there to a little bit more of unite and prosper. And it's not that Entnest will replace any of these big platforms, but I do think we are an very, very interesting and capable alternative. And we are firmly in the camp of building the trust and the quality rather than what we're seeing in so many other places, which is quite a lot of fake and a lot also into the area of quantity rather than quality. So that's basically the big pieces that we wanted to discuss here. And yeah, I've had a little bit of a look also at what Entnest is offering on your platform and so on here. I do think that there can be really quite a lot of opportunities in everything that you do, the networking, the engaging, the informing, and the advocating. But you're also talking a lot about other things, why people should join WAPP and so on there. And I think all of this speaks in the right direction. So I'm very pleased also to show that we have moved forward here, Jean-Christophe and I, to some extent, with actually setting up a WAPP profile inside of Entnest. And Jean-Christophe, sorry, has of course also then invited all the WAPP organization through a number of sendouts and so on there, so you can have easy access to Entnest, and there can be really quite a lot of good opportunities for utilizing more efficiently than this this platform here. So yeah, with that, I think Jean-Christophe, you might
what I see from a WAPP standpoint is it's a really nice possibility to also cluster people who really come from very, PPPs is quite technical and it's a niche industry, but it's big and it's very distributed. We have a presence on all continents, and so bringing all these people together in a way which is projectable here on Entnest would be a big challenge, for example, on a platform like LinkedIn, because you cannot segment it. You cannot create clusters of like regional clusters and these things. You would have to open new corporate profiles or so on a LinkedIn. LinkedIn is like irreplaceable today to find out what somebody is doing and do a bit of a, if you want to prepare accordingly for a negotiation or something like this. If somebody doesn't have a LinkedIn profile, it makes you suspicious, right? But then if you go to the next level, and we're very much about next level PPP, about collaboration, about really delving into the technical discussion where you can have a repository, where you can have messages that are exchanged. Today, we're using a multitude of tools like Slack for internal communication, emails, presentations, different video tools, depending on the format, if it's an annual congress or a webinar. And so considering these things, Entnest is really an interesting technological solution that offers quite convenient abilities.
Yeah.
I don't know, those who are not so familiar with WAPP, maybe they can share their viewpoint. Nima and Peter and Christian, of course.
Well, I can say on behalf, WAPPP Group, we are very proud of being one of the first members of WAPP through my co-founder Thibaut Murk. And I think I'm not revealing too much, Jean-Christophe, if I tell the audience who will see this event on afterwards, a recording, that there's the Swiss Impact Investing Association. We already had a meeting with WAPP last year where we discussed the topic of sustainable infrastructure as a potential for future impact investing asset class. So we are planning to organize an event next year, SIA and WAPP, on that topic. So stay tuned.
Great. Looking forward to that.
Yeah. Very, very good. So yeah, it's early days. We've spent, as we said, basically 5 years creating the technical possibility of having this in one place, and we are at the stage. Of course, nothing is perfect. Clearly, Entnest is also not perfect, but I do think that we are good enough for a lot of different things that will be very convenient then together here. So that's where we are. We are at the stage of growth at this point in time, and there can also be very nice further benefits, of course, for WAPP being part of the further rolling out and utilization and so on here. And I think it will only bring further benefits with having your trusted people coming in, just like Christians and many other organizations and so on here. It's all about.
Thank you very much, Johan.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for that bonus session. I know it's exceptional, and thanks for making quality time to discuss it. We'll make the video available on our social media and also in our newsletter, and let the WAPP community know about this interesting piece of technology that could really also change the culture of interaction with PPP professionals from all parts of the world.
Yeah, that's perfect. So with that, I think we're basically done. We want to be short and efficient. Efficiency is one of the core elements there, right? So I think we don't need the remaining 11 minutes, but I'd like to give back, as they say in the governments and so on, right? My allocated time slot here. So thank you very much for this, and I look forward to the future. The future is very bright, I believe. Okay,
Thank you.
all the best.
Thank you, Johan.
Thank you.
Jean-Christophe.
Thank you.
Peter.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Goodbye.